No.
Hey, cross shots for you guys.
Oh, you can see, right? You can see what's going on. All right, everybody. Yeah, we get to start a little bit late, but it's all good. You know, I mean, we had technical difficulties, so to say. But anyways, before we get the show started, make sure you guys go in the descriptions and download the All-Star app. Make sure your picks for UFC fights this weekend. We will preview the card, UFC Mexico, a little bit later in the show. But yeah, go into the descriptions, download the app. You know, get all your MMA news, your NBA, NFL, whatever sport you like, customize it and use it. It's a beautiful thing. The first thing we're going to jump into today, first topic, right, is Michael Chandler on WWE Raw, right? Me, I don't watch wrestling at all now. Like, it's been probably, I don't even know. You see the wrestlers on TV and you hear the names, but I don't know what's going on in wrestling, right? I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to give you my experience. I used to be a huge fan of wrestling back in the 90s. Now, are you guys wrestling fans?
When I was a kid.
Okay.
I think it's probably been like 12 years since I've watched like any sort of WWE.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't know. When Chandler did that, I was like, there's the merger.
Oh, yeah.
I'm the opposite. I didn't really truly find my appreciation for wrestling until I was older.
Okay.
And I started watching, like, man, these guys, they're talented. For whatever reason, when I was a kid, I used to always say, that's fake. Even though at the same time, I would, love Jackie Chan movies and Bruce Lee movies and all that stuff. For whatever reason, I couldn't get into wrestling because it's like, man, that's fake.
That's
but it wasn't until like later I look back, I was like, man, regardless of the script or whatever's going on, like these guys, they have some talent and they put on a great show.
Yo, man, the aerial stuff, like all the jumps and that stuff looks like it fucking hurts, man.
Yeah.
Like I always had appreciation for that. But then when obviously like as I got older and got more into, MMA, it's like, well, I'm gonna watch the sport that I do.
When did you get into it? Like, what was the year around when?
I would say like maybe, started my nephew watched it a lot and my father-in-law, it was always on at their house, so I would watch it and just started to be like, wow, these guys are good. Not like a super mega fan, but definitely appreciating that sport or entertainment or whatever you want to call it.
Entertainment sport, right? Sports entertainment or whatever. Yeah, like you said, we don't even know what it is. It's just like, but they are athletes. They have to be, right? These guys. Anyways, like me, I used to be like a wrestling fan when I was young. This was like, elementary school, right? This is when it was like Hulk Hogan and like Ric Flair and Macho Man. Do you guys even know who those people are?
Yeah.
Well, that's the old school guys, right? That's when I watched it. And then one day I finally went to a WWF. This is when it was called WWF, not even E. Okay. And I went to WWF. My friend's brother, who was much older than us, he was a huge fan of wrestling. And he had bought front row tickets, like on like the rail is here and the ring is here. There's nobody in front of you. You're in front row. And he had one extra ticket. He just gave it to me. He's like, let's go. And I was like, all right. I should have never went because when I went and watched that in person, I found out it was fake with my own eyes in front of me, watching it live. And it just turned me off from it. And I would never watch it again after that. And I was like maybe 12 years old or something. You know what I mean? It's kind of demoralizing, right? You're watching it and you think it's like kind of real, but the dudes was like talking to each other. Like some dude's getting hit and he's like smiling, kind of laughing and shit. Like that's how close I could see them. It was just disappointing, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't hate it. But I'm just saying I don't watch it. But now let's talk about Michael Chandler and him going on WWE Raw and calling out Conor McGregor. Is that fight even gonna happen, Johnny? Is that fight gonna even happen?
I was really hoping that UFC 300 they'd be fighting for 165-pound.
Yeah. I was thinking that too.
I was praying for that. I had my fingers crossed for that because I feel like if there was a 165-pound division like that, that would be my home.
Yeah, a lot of fighters, man, are interested in that 165-pound division. A lot of fighters would love it.
I think mixing it up and having 75 and 65 would help the divisions out a lot, I believe.
Yeah. Even Fedor told me.
I feel like
when I asked him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he said I'd go to 165. and he fights at 155 right now.
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
And I feel like there's a lot of people, maybe, the welterweight division, I feel like is a little thin,
Mhm.
but maybe it would have more people in it if it was 75. More guys would be willing to make that cut. Maybe cutting all the way down to 70 is a little too much.
Mhm.
Mm.
So they fight at 85 or whatever the case is. If it was 75, that might bring more people to that division.
Mhm.
And then lightweight stacked. And I definitely feel like they could fill out a 165 division. I think what Dana said is that he just doesn't want people like hopping around too much. He wants the divisions to be the division. But
Yeah, but if you make those adjustments, I think the division will actually better be the division, just because guys will be able to make weight easier and they won't miss and things like that,
Yeah.
right? Like if
he also said women would never fight.
Yeah.
exactly.
So,
right?
I got my fingers crossed.
And he
I-
always flips the script all the
Right.
time. So it's like,
But that it is a missed opportunity, right? Like
Yeah.
to have UFC 300 like open a new division,
yeah.
like that's the main event and everything. Like talk about like
Historic.
a new era. Yeah, and that's
Historic.
like a new era.
Yeah.
But then, of course, like the main event that we got is good,
Yeah.
but I wasn't like that's amazing or anything, like
You know what a better story would have been? Is that UFC 301 is in the same, I think, stadium and city
Mhm.
that Glover and Jamala fought in.
Okay.
yeah.
And I think really they were trying to save Alex and Jamala for that.
Yeah.
But I just think they couldn't put a fight
Yeah,
together,
couldn't.
and they made that the main event. And I think knowing how they were scrambling to make a main event kind of takes away from the hype. It just kind of feels like they just had to do something and they
Desperation.
threw it together.
Yeah.
And it takes away the hype a little bit. And then knowing that, like, man, that main event could have took place in Brazil, which I think would have been a way cooler story to have, Alex
Mhm.
fighting the dude that beat his mentor
Mhm.
Yeah.
in the same stadium.
100%. But
Yeah.
then also, I remember Dana hyping up and being like, "Oh man, you guys are gonna lose your minds and this and that over what the main event was gonna be." And I guess it must have just fallen through. But
He just gave everybody blue balls for like a month,
Yeah,
right? He was just
basically.
like blue balling everybody, right? He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, we're working on like a couple big fights, like this, you're gonna be blown away when I announce this.
Yeah.
It's gonna be just epic.
Not that the card looks great, but it's just there's nothing that when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, or anything. I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't that. Yeah, it wasn't the when you think of 300, you think of historic number. So you want something historic. You want something that is like beyond,
I'm telling you, if they did the new division, that would have been.
Yeah, of course. But I bet you like Connor wasn't ready. Chandler, he's not gonna take a short notice fight.
No.
That dude walks around at 195 and fights at 155.
Yeah.
Like I saw something about him, how he it's a science for him to get down. So he needs time.
Yeah.
He needs notification.
He's probably the best person on the UFC roster to do a WWE call out.
Yeah.
Like, because he's so fucking hokey already.
Yeah.
That he's probably the best person for it. But yeah, as soon as I saw him do that, I was like, there's the merger. I bet you that it might become like more common.
Do you like it? Like, of course, like if you like WWE, you like it, right? If you like that style of
I mean, it's 100% so that WWE fans get more interested in the UFC.
Yeah.
And I think American fans in general love drama.
Oh.
Me as a martial artist, I appreciate the fighting.
Mhm.
I don't need any drama at all to be hyped about a fight. I'm hyped about, their skills. I'm hyped about matchups. I don't need any of the drama, but I think the masses, the public, they need drama. And I think, that's what UFC is going to have to do. You know what I mean?
Mm.
God bless them and, all the fans and things like that. But it's like, to grow the sport more than what it's already at, they have to bring in, more of the masses. And, if you think about American television, it's just like reality show after reality show. They just, the US loves drama.
They love the demise of a person in front of their eyes. I
It's
think
like
that's
that
what
tall poppy syndrome, right?
Yeah, they just love watching people destroy themselves, but at the
Yeah.
same time build themselves, which is kind of odd, right? They love a comeback story, they love an underdog story, but they also love to watch somebody that's on the top crumble to the
They love that
the
fall
floor.
from grace, man.
Yeah, and then it's the
The
same people
McGregor.
that are like pumping you up and then breaking you down. Like it's like
It's the McNugget story, man. I
Oh,
feel like
man.
that's why, like, yeah, the same guys that people like that loved McGregor when he was coming up in 2015 and 16 are also the ones that are kind of like, he's washed. And you're like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, but there's like he's created like a cult following. So even those guys that most of the guys, they didn't fall off. They love Conor. They think they're Conor. There's people out there that they believe that Conor is like them. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about, right? Like they could relate to Conor, but they have no idea. They've never been around him.
I think he's like the person that they always wished they were, kind of
that's
thing.
the thing.
And
That's
it's
the
that
thing,
same like what's the guy called? They call him Top G. What's his name?
Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Beat me to it.
Yeah.
I think it's like that kind of thing. Like the same guys that like relate to him or are fans of him, right? They're the people that he's like who they wish that they could be on the inside and stuff. McGregor's the same. It actually, just thinking of cult following, so it was really interesting to see like the way people flocked to Jones.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just the way that like not to say like he was very personable and all this.
He tried.
Yeah, he
tried.
Yeah, he did his best, right?
I'm happy he showed my kids a lot of love.
Yeah, and he did.
The kids are the stars of the show.
Yeah, 100%. But like it was really interesting because like he'd make like a little joke and like yeah, okay. And then like you get all these like fan boys basically being like, and you're like, whoa, that was a big reaction. Like, so I think, with these big names and stuff, I guess it's just like that, right?
It is. I'm pretty sure you guys have friends that are like extremely famous where they're from, and you've been around them and you've seen like the fan reaction from just being around those types of like famous people, right?
Yeah.
And it's very odd, like people will come up to you in the middle of dinner. You're eating dinner. Johnny, have you ever experienced that yourself? Like someone come up to you and like you're eating dinner with your family and they're like,
not off the top of my head, but as of recently, I've been getting recognized, not to the point where it annoys me.
Yeah.
I actually appreciate it.
Yeah,
so
that's nice.
It's not overbearing, but like, sometimes I'll be at this event or that event and be like, hey man, you're the Sluggernaut, right?
A Sluggernaut.
So. That's nice. That's nice. But yeah, but then there's that level of like recognition, and you know what I mean? And then there's the level of like 1 million followers on Instagram. Because if you have 1 million, that means there's a lot of people that have their eyes on you, right? 2 million, 3 million, whatnot. And just like the people that come up to you and you're eating dinner, like you can't like your time is more important. They're like it's like your time is more important than the celebrity's time in a way, a celebrity or whatever you want to call that person.
Yeah.
It's just like, where is your mind at?
It's like they think that person's very being becomes public domain.
Yeah, it's just where do you get that from? I don't understand like where people get that from. But the Jones thing, yeah, people laughing at jokes that might not be that funny, but just because it's Jones, it's funny to them.
Well, I'll just say this. I really liked his message at the end of the seminar. And I think, if there's anything he can pass on to all these super duper fanboys, is the message of, using martial arts to spread love and that they can be leaders in their community and be an example. So, At least he did that.
Yeah, yeah.
No,
You know,
no,
at least these
exactly.
crazy
He was
fanboys
great.
could,
Yeah.
you know,
He
they
was
could
great.
take that to heart,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
and
of
when they go
course.
back home,
Yeah.
you know, maybe be a little less like, you know, be a little less of a, I don't know, be more real.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I get that. Like I agree. I think his last message, and like I said, he did his best to be like as warm as he could to 200 people, you know, and like as personable as you can be to 200 people.
Yeah.
Again, you know, like that was a lot of people on that mat, man.
Dude, way
Yeah.
more than GSP.
Oh yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like double.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just it's John Jones, man. Like you can't. It's undeniable the level of talent and the career that he's had. It's undeniable.
The one
right?
thing with GSP was it was short notice though. The seminar was.
Yeah, but I think GSP had been doing.
Yeah.
He's been doing that type of thing for a while. It
Yeah,
doesn't seem like
yeah.
Jones has been doing. This is, I think, this is his first like tour. Like he
think
hit
so.
Australia. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think he made good adjustments, especially
Mm.
once he saw how many people were there. He's like, "Oh man,
Yeah.
I guess we're working elbows the whole time because there ain't no room to do anything else." You know what I
That's
mean?
true too. That's true too. There were so many.
So I
people.
thought
Yeah.
he adjusted well, and you know, I actually ran into Jones. I guess it was after a fight. I was cornering someone at CES in like South Dakota or something. I ran into him at the gas station. He was actually super cool.
Yeah.
And kind of told him, I was like, "Hey man, like, you know, I was never a bandwagon fan, but like after I watched you destroy all my favorite Pride legends, I just like I couldn't help but be a fan, you know." And then I remember I got back home and I was like, "Yeah, man, I ran into Jones. He was super cool." And some dude was just like, "Yeah, he's cool if you're not his wife."
Oh man.
And I was like, "Dang, man." I was like,
yeah, you gotta go there. You know.
and I was like, dude, come on, man. Like, I'll say this, man. I'm not perfect. People make
Mhm.
mistakes, and I think right, and it's a comeback story.
Yeah.
Like you can mess up. You know, everyone messes up.
Mhm.
You know, some people just don't like to admit it. Some people hide their screw ups. You know, when you're someone like Jones, you don't really get
Can't
that,
hide.
you know, luxury of hiding your screw ups. But I think it's how you bounce back, you know, from messing up big time. And I think he's in a great place mentally. I like I said before, I really liked his message at the end of the seminar, and you know, I'm excited to see Jones fight some more. Like, hopefully, we can get like 2 or 3 more fights out of him. You know,
I
that'd be
really want to
amazing.
see that Miocic fight, man.
Oh yeah.
You know what though? Like from being around him for 2 days, right? We were there. I thought, man, he had like he was excited to meet the fans. Like on the first day, he seemed like he was excited to meet the fans. Like he was just like, let's get this going. Man, dude, he spent like an hour and a half over the time that he was supposed to be there or something
Yeah.
like that. Just to get to every fan, you know what I mean? Maybe some people snuck in, I don't know, but you know,
I
I'm
was
saying.
running the door. No one was sneaking in.
But yeah, it's just like GSP. Now you know you got Jones over here. Yeah, Jones is like it's interesting to see those people and then how people react to him, because the reaction to like GSP was different than the reaction to Jones, if you noticed, right? Like everybody was, I don't know, it seemed like everybody was more serious with GSP.
I think because he himself was more serious,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He's serious. He's like John Claude Van Damme,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, like, so the man like walked in like an action figure, and I think everybody was like, damn, kind of
Yeah.
like that. But Jones was like
More
as soon-
regular. Yeah.
He was more like personable. As
Yeah.
soon as he came in, he like goes, he's like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, man. And like, you know, put his hand on my shoulder and then is like over there and he's talking with someone. So picks up your kid, you know. So I feel like because he was more personable, it almost felt like the fanboy reaction was stronger.
Could be.
Because like he was almost like more real,
Mhm.
right? GSP came in almost like he kind of felt like a mythical creature, you know, whereas like
Yeah,
John,
he had hair as well.
he was hair Saint Pierre.
Yeah.
but because I think maybe because of the fact that John Jones was like a little more personable, it almost made it go the other way, where people are like, oh my God, John Jones. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, a lot of, man, there's the people that came, they like in the last month, like the people that have
Craig Jones.
Craig Jones, GSP, and John Jones. Like that's like
and
what do
Wei
you-
Lee has been on the mat.
Yeah, Wei Lee's been on the mat. But just like even like just having like GSP and John Jones, because I don't even think John Jones is gonna fight again. Did you see him? He looked happy. he looked like he was living life, you know what I mean, as a heavyweight.
He probably, you know, he could get into this routine of traveling around and just
Yeah, and just making money off
Yeah.
being him. That's like being Snoop Dogg. Like, what does Snoop Dogg do? Nothing.
at
just him.
this point he can start ticking off the side missions if he really
Exactly.
wants.
I think he really wants to fight Miocic.
You do.
I hope he really wants
And
to
I
fight
and I
Miocic.
almost feel like it's just something he wants to do just to throw in DC's face.
True.
I don't know. I
Possibly.
just got this weird feeling that he just wants to be like, yeah.
He even brought up DC.
Yeah. A couple
Yeah.
I
times.
thought this
But it was
thought this
nice. He
guy-
said nice things about
Yeah,
DC.
yeah.
Oh, DC
Yeah,
does this move really well.
Yeah.
And
No,
then,
it was just
then he
funny.
said, I need DC with this move.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
that part. That part. But yeah, it was cool to have them around, man. Like, I'm not really like a starstruck person. Like, I don't really like get all like I don't really get autographs and pictures and stuff. It's not just I'd rather just be like experience it. And if they want to take a picture, okay, fine. But I'm not gonna like wait in line and stuff. But I'm not, I just never was like that type of person. But it's definitely cool to be able to like say like you met the greatest fighters of all time, because the history is short, man. Like, the history is so short. It's like being able to like meet like these legends while they're still alive.
Yeah,
it's better than even watching them fight live, I think.
I think
Because you're close to them,
I
and
get what
then you
mean.
get to like be around them, not like you're watching them.
You
like
get to
a
actually
game.
feel their energy.
Exactly, right? Hear them talk.
Which
close up.
GSP and John Jones have very different energy.
They're
Man.
very different. Very different.
And I was waiting, man. The first day, it took a lot out of me. Waiting in that line for the picture, I was like, man, things parents do for their kids, man. And I was just like, all right, because the kids were real hyped about it. And I'm just glad that, like, we weren't in the VIP section, but when we did go up there, John Jones like took his time, and and then he let the boys kick him.
Yeah.
So it was a really cool moment. And then after the seminar, I just told the kids had just been bugging. Hey, we want to get him to sign our gloves. And I was like, dude, you just got to get him at the right time.
Yeah.
And right when he was getting out of the cage, the kids ran up to them and asked him to sign the gloves. And then the enforcer that Jones has with him is like, only one glove. And Jones was like, no, I'll sign both.
Oh,
so he signed, 3 kids, 3 pairs of
both.
gloves.
Oh,
he signed
shit.
all the gloves.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Each glove. So,
Nice.
it was nice that he took the time to do that. And, I appreciate him as a dad, because like, the kids loved it.
Hell of an experience for the kids, man. Like, and they train, you know what I mean? They fight themselves,
Yeah.
So it's like meeting someone like that.
They fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, my oldest boy is fighting Saturday.
Simbi.
Yeah,
right?
Simbi. So I'm excited
I'm gonna
for
have
that.
to go out there and check that out, right?
Yeah, it'll be cool.
I think Kendall's fighting as well.
Yeah,
I believe, right?
yeah.
That's
He's
cool.
fighting as well. So yeah, some good fights this weekend for the team. Yeah, you got the little boys already part of a team out here. Or did they fight back in the States?
Yeah, my oldest has 6, and then the 2 younger brothers, they have 2 each.
Okay.
So
And Muay Thai fights, or just like
Muay Thai fights.
Okay. Nice, man. Is that something that like you're coaching them to do, or is just like if they
Man,
want to do it, they do
those little rascals, they won't let me coach them.
it?
Like I've always had mats in the garage. We'll get 10 minutes into me trying to teach them something.
Yeah.
It's like, Dad, we want to spar. You know what I mean? So they got a lot of sparring rounds. They've just been around it a lot.
Yeah.
They've watched me a lot.
Yeah.
What's funny is that, like, I guess my youngest son looks the most Thai style with his movements. He don't listen to a word I say. He's really just picked a lot up from just watching and being around it. He used to watch me teach class all the time. Sometimes I'd be done teaching class and I'd watch him and he'd just be doing the moves I taught in the class. And I was like, wow.
I mean, I remember you finishing class and you're like sitting there trying to like eat something, and he's like sitting there like kicking you, and you're like,
yeah.
ow, what are you doing?
Yeah, I think one time he low kicked me and it wrapped around the back because the angle, and he like hit me in the nuts.
Oh, damn.
And then and it was during a time where the gym was crowded. It was crowded. And like I'm in this walkway, like laying on the ground, like, and I'm just like, dude, why? You know what's funny? When he used to kick me, I used to be like, oh, this is like, it would be cute. I'm like, man, I can't believe how much power you got. And like now it's like, dude, don't kick me.
Yeah.
Like, stop. Like, for real, stop kicking me. So
yeah, one of my good friends, right? He has a son, and from like maybe the age of like 5 or 6, he was training him. Like, he had the pads, and he was just like teaching him. Like, I think he was teaching him Dillashaw style. Because you know, for a little kid, that you know, they're more like agile and flexible. So it's like if you can mold them that style when they're young, they'd be a crazy little fucker, right? Anyways, like he was teaching them like that, and then he would let them hit him. You know, I mean, 5 years old, you know, you could let your kid hit you, kick you, and all that stuff, and you're just hitting pad. And then it got to a point, I think it was like maybe 10 years old, and then one of the passages, his son missed and punched him right in the mouth. After that, he said he never held pads for him again. He said it to the gym because it was just like he punched too hard. Like I can't be missing and hitting me all the time. Let me pay somebody else to get hit. You know what I mean? Because they reach a certain age, right, where you get punched, like it hurts, man.
Oh yeah.
Some of like your son, I guarantee.
Yeah. No, they can hurt me now.
Yeah.
Like I'll tell them, like, bro, I'll check your kick. Like, stop. I'm gonna check it.
One day, right?
Yeah.
When they're just old enough.
Yeah, they're definitely athletic, man. Like
sometimes my wife be trying to slap box me in the kitchen. And man, there was one day it just naturally happened. I just like checked her kick and she's like, "Are you serious? Why would you check my kick?" But it's like, dude, why are you kicking me?
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Hey, it's some wild days, man, over here. You know what I mean? Now let's pivot over to some WWE more stuff. Oh, let's talk more about Chandler and McGregor. Like, you think it's gonna happen?
I think I'm hopeful and optimistic. You know, I hope it happens, and I hope, you know, if there's anyone that can introduce a 165-pound division, it's McGregor. So if anyone can get it done, it's McGregor, and I hope he can get it done for the sake of me and a bunch of other fighters that could probably use it.
But wasn't he calling for 302?
Well, I think International Fight Week is the plan.
Yeah.
Is that 302?
Yeah.
Okay, so 302 International Fight Week. I think you're gonna get your wish. I think that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna, when McGregor is ready to come back, International Fight Week against Chandler, they're gonna introduce, because McGregor's gonna come back and he's gonna have like a historic opportunity. That's what they want him to have, right? Because that's what's gonna lure him to like do his thing. And being a champion in 3 divisions and being the first champion in a new division, that's something that will bring anybody back.
But just for a script here, wasn't it 205? Was that, what was McGregor? What was the 205 fight for McGregor?
Nate Diaz
or whatever.
2?
Is that Nate Diaz 2? When he
I don't know.
Or,
I don't remember.
That 202 might have been Nate Diaz 2.
Or 202. I can't remember.
What is it? Alvarez? Is that 205?
That might have been Alvarez when he went double champ, right? Imagine if they waited and they put him on 305 or whatever, 100 cards later to create a new division with a new belt, a 3rd division. So then you have 100 UFC cards later, and then he's potentially 3 division champ.
And there's no better opponent than Michael Chandler, because Michael Chandler will come and eat shots. That's the bad part.
Yeah.
Here's my thing. I feel like if there's anyone that McGregor could beat right now, it's Michael Chandler.
Yes.
Not to knock Michael Chandler. He's a great fighter. He's a great athlete. But I just feel like with their styles, I feel like if there's anyone McGregor can get a win against, it's freaking Chandler.
The UFC, I think, knows that. I think like McGregor knows that. Chandler, of course, he's gonna be confident. That's the biggest fight out there right now.
Well,
and he's lined up to do it.
I also think Chandler is just like, I'm gonna prove him wrong.
Yeah.
He's Mr. I'm gonna prove him wrong, right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure he's aware of the fact that everybody feels like that, and he's like just going with it.
Yeah, and also he'll give the fans the fight that they want to see, win or lose, and that's why the UFC likes him as well. Even though he's taking a huge risk to even get title shots, and he's fighting a certain way.
What's his record in the UFC now?
It's like 1 in, I don't know. It's like 1 in 9. I don't know.
I think it's 2 and 4.
Yeah, something like that. But the thing is, like, he's fighting like the best dudes in the division as well, on the biggest cards, so it's not like, he's just fighting bums. So
no, of course.
But I think the fight will happen, and if it does, that would probably kind of be the whole story, right? Because they need to do something, man. They just can't have. They could just have Chandler fight Conor, and it would be a pay-per-view sell and all this stuff. But you know, this is a promotion. You have to create something massive that doesn't even make sense to like sell it, and it's the comeback of Conor McGregor, right? The mythical character. He doesn't do cocaine anymore, right? No, I'm just kidding. But
Well, what's the
I'm
division
just
going to be
kidding. He
called?
does more.
Super lightweight? Is
Yeah.
that what we're calling this division?
Why
Super
not?
lightweight?
Super lightweight would be.
What do they
Sounds
call it in
cool,
boxing?
yeah.
What do they call it in boxing? What's cruiserweight in boxing? Is that between light heavyweight and heavyweight?
I think cruiserweight in boxing might be like, I don't know. But the boxing division's like,
Yeah, it's weird
always
names.
confused me. There's
Like
so
they
many,
got
I
like
don't know.
rooster weight, and they got some funny names, dude, in boxing.
I'm gonna petition for
Super lightweight.
no. Like there needs to be a 54 kilo division, and we call it bubble weight.
Bubble.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, if they introduce that, I think they should introduce a women's atomweight division. Because their women are so small, man. There's so many good atomweights in the world that they could sign. Like seriously, like 30 atomweights they can sign. But the UFC wouldn't do that. Do they want to invest money on women? I don't think so. I think that they're just good with what they have right now, and they're just gonna continue with that.
it's weird though because they have heavier weight divisions for women that honestly, like you'd get way more stacked if you got rid of those really heavy women's divisions and you put some lighter ones in, because there's more tiny women out there that know how to fight.
For sure. It's just, I've been watching them for years in Asia, you know, but they just can't go to UFC.
but who knows? Maybe it's like a, similar thing to, Demetrius Johnson. He never picked up steam. And I just think because like a lot of his fights, even though like very talented and very skillful fights, is like kind of like two guys just kind of like flying across the ring and like not enough impact.
Oh, okay.
I think they want to see impact, and like in who knows, maybe like 105 women, they're like, maybe are they going to produce enough of that impact?
You're right.
That impact and that damage, or are we going to be watching, are they going to be
Speed.
always 3-round fights, 5-round championship fights that go the distance, and kind of like
True.
they're just almost too fast to really hit each other, and they're just kind of flying across the octagon, back and forth.
I finished my last fight. I'm a
Hey,
flyweight
but you're an animal. I see you on the mat. You're strong, man. You got some power.
Well, flyweights, they have
cut
power,
a lot of weight, bro.
Flyweights, they have a lot of power. You see it like crazy knockouts. There's some flyweights with some serious power out there. You know what I mean?
I feel like for DJ was just too dominant, man. And then once he left, it like opened the gates for like actual like competition and within flyweights or whatever. I don't know.
I would like to see DJ back in the UFC competing with these guys. I don't know if he would be as dominant as he was now, because there's just so many new flyweights.
I agree.
And a lot of them are really good.
Really good.
I agree.
You know who's like in that division I like a lot, that I think like is probably going to be the champions real soon, is Manel Kape.
Oh man. So Kape was the Ryzen champion.
Yeah.
He was the Ryzen bantamweight champion, right?
Yeah.
And because he beat Kai.
Yeah, Kai Asakura.
Asakura. Yeah, he beat Kai for that. Kai just won it recently.
Yeah.
But
Again.
Yeah. But he beat Kai for that. I think the first time
they had a rivalry.
And then Kape was supposed to go with
Horiguchi?
He's supposed to go with a couple different people, but every time he goes, man, he just looks amazing. He's supposed to fight Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Right. But man, the guy is like he's like a freak, like athletic freak.
Yeah,
like the way he moves and like just how bouncy he is. It's like you never seen it. It looks like his feet are like he has size 15 feet as a featherweight. It looks weird.
There's some flyweights and everything in the like that we like have been on the mat. Just like, man, how are you a flyweight? Please stop. Like,
you know what? I feel bad. One of my students I worked with for a lot of years, Nas. You know Nas.
Yeah.
Like I almost feel bad, like making him cut to 25. You know what I mean? Like I almost make him feel bad. Like I just feel bad, like being like, "Hey man, you should fight at 25." But like, what's weird is that like I feel like he's too small for 135. But then like he's still a growing kid, and it's like I don't want him to be like cutting to 25 and then like I don't know, stun his growth or something. You know what I mean?
He's not. I mean, to be honest, for flyweight, he'd be big. I think.
Yeah.
Maybe
He
not.
just defended his flyweight championship in Utah.
Oh yeah,
First
I saw
round
that.
KO.
I saw that. Yeah. He
What,
and
what
I
promotion is that?
Fierce Fighting Challenge.
is
Okay.
Emmy. Yeah.
Yeah, Emmy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He was a huge help for that Tough Enough fight that I had.
Dude, that was a savage fight, bro.
Thank you. But honestly, if I wasn't going to war with Nas for like, once a week, twice a week, I don't know if I would have won that because he was perfect for that. Like the
Well,
Thai
that fight,
style.
dude. That fight, dude. That was a great fight.
Thank you.
Like, that wasn't like, man, you performed so well, man, and it wasn't like that guy brought the fight,
Oh, man.
but so did you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. But
The dog.
I remember Cynthia was like, "Oh man, you just made it ugly," and I was like, "It was ugly."
Sometimes you gotta get ugly, right?
Yo, man, I watched it after. I'm like, "Oh, it was ugly." It's fine.
Well, CM Punk, he's leaving the door open for a UFC return.
God, no.
How old is CM Punk? Come on. Hey, I think he fights in your division.
No thanks.
No thanks, really? I don't know.
I just wouldn't want to be that.
That guy.
I don't want to be considered like a gimmick fight or like
Oh, okay.
like I don't know, man. If someone said like, "Oh, dude, you want to fight CM Punk?" I think I'd be offended.
I actually get that. I get that. Like, you want to fight fucking contenders.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Maybe there could have been a point in my life where I was like, "Oh, dude, I would love to fight CM Punk," but now I feel like, man, no.
Also, if you hadn't just slugger nodded through that last guy and
Yeah.
everything, like that was an awesome debut. And
That was.
and it was like one hell of a fucking KO, right? I just think from here you should be fighting some serious.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now that everybody that fought CM Punk has had a terrible demise.
Yeah.
Oh.
He's only fought twice, but he fought Mickey Gall, who has pretty much disappeared from MMA. Like, we
I
don't hear
haven't
about
seen
him at all. And then Mike Jackson. Do you know who Mike Jackson is?
Yeah. You know what's funny, man, is that I've talked to him a handful of times in person. He's always been super cool to me.
Mhm.
But like
Mike Jackson.
I don't like a lot of his content he
Dude,
posts
it's-
online.
It's
So, you know
cringy,
what I mean?
dude. It's
Yeah, I don't
like-
want to get into detail,
Yeah.
but yeah, dude, I'm just not a big fan of him. He's been great to me in person, real nice. Chatted with him a couple times, but like, not a fan of
His content.
Fair
Well, I'm
enough.
gonna tell you something that I've never told anybody, but I'm gonna put it out there now. Is he fought Pat Miletich, right? Recently.
Yeah.
The last fight. Pat Miletich is like what, 90 years old, right?
Yeah.
But Pat Miletich is 90 years old. He fought Mike Jackson. They were used to be friends, but because of all the political stuff that they're involved in, they became enemies in a way, and then ended up fighting each other, right? And Pat Miletich, he's not 90, but he's very old. He's like more than 50 years old. Fought Mike Jackson, who's probably in his prime of his life, right? In his early 30s. I don't know how old he is. Pat Miletich was beating Mike Jackson in the fight, and Pat Miletich just gassed out basically, and that's what happened, I think, in the fight, and he lost. But
what was
but
that?
I did an
Where was
interview.
that?
This was like last year.
Yeah, no, I think he pretty much won the whole fight and then quit on the stool.
Yeah.
Was
'cause he
that
just gassed?
Bellator? Or?
No, it was just some random
It
promotion.
wasn't Caged Aggression, was it?
Nah, it was one of those like Midwestern.
Yeah, just like a
Oh,
Midwestern.
okay.
Yeah, but I did an interview with Mike Jackson before that fight, right? And it was an interesting interview. He just like went off on the, like the black and white and all that, white nationalists and all these things, right? And it was just became like a political interview, and I just never released it, dude, because it was just pretty. To be honest, it was just nonsense.
Yeah.
It was just nonsense. I was just like, oh my God, this will not benefit the world to release.
Yeah.
And I barely ever have not released interviews ever. But that one, it was just a waste of time.
People like him, it just lets you know, all right, dude, the division propaganda is working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's working on him.
It's working on him for sure, man.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, man. Like, all right, if you're not team people, then you must be team government and corporations
Exactly.
and team corruption. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Yeah. But what about and then he gets into these beefs, and then Jake Shields. Jake Shields is not a guy you want to be chirping at, and then Jake Shields will see you and do something about it. That's the type of guy he is. It's not
he's literally famous for it.
Exactly.
Right?
And then he did it to him at the PI.
Well, Jackson ain't in anymore, and I want to say I think I recently saw Jake back in the PI, so I think his ban has been lifted.
Yeah, of course, Jake.
Because I think for a little bit after that happened, he wasn't allowed over.
Yeah. There's some instances that has happened in the PI. You know what I mean? It's not, the PI is not a protected area. It's supposed to be. The PI is supposed to be that place. What's that movie, Artemis Hotel, where all the
in the John Wick series, right?
I think it is. It's where all the assassins go, but they have a neutral
intercontinental
agreement. Yeah, and it's a neutral agreement that we don't do anything in the hotel. The hotel's a safe space.
Yeah,
and the PI should be something like that, right? We're all killers. We might have our issues, but when we get into the PI, stuff shouldn't happen. But I guarantee you, there's stuff that has happened there that you guys probably know about, and I might know about, that has never been released to the public, and probably will never be released to the public. And those are the stories I wish somebody would talk about eventually. And I think somebody will, but not on this show. We're not going to do that. But
it's I got maybe a couple.
Yeah. But what do you get that vibe at the PI? When you go there, do you feel a tension sometimes in the PI?
No, I feel like it's super welcoming, man. If there's one place I miss about Las Vegas right now is the PI.
Yeah,
a lot. Man, it's such a great asset. Being able to do all the strength training, all the physical therapy, and then the meals. Maybe I enjoy the meals a little too much.
Everything's free too, right?
Yeah.
So it's they have a sports psychologist as well.
He's a pretty cool dude too. Learned some cool things from him, and then also learned that some things that I already do are things that he teaches. So I was like, oh, cool, man, because no one taught me that. I just made it up in my mind, So to find out, it's oh wow, you actually tell people to think like that and do things like that. I was like, man, I already do that.
Maybe you should take his job. At the PI.
Someday.
Yeah, I'd be like, dude, don't listen to him. I already do stuff that he was telling people to do. It's what's up? No. But is it the guy that used to be the baseball player?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. I always hear about him.
Coach Mike. I call him coach. I call everybody coach, man. It's just how I was brought up, during training.
For sure. Yeah, CM Punk, if he comes back, he's he's a welterweight. Well, he probably is a middleweight now, maybe light heavyweight. But I don't know. I think the UFC, they'll bring him back if he wants to. I think they would. They don't care. CM Punk already been in that cage. Just it's a farewell fight for CM Punk. What do you think?
Yeah, well, and then I guess they're gonna have to bring in some bum for him to fight. I guess
Andrew Tate.
Oh man. Maybe, yeah.
I would put my money on Andrew Tate, to be honest. CM
Punk comes from wrestling, but I don't know if he has the kind of wrestling that is required for UFC.
Yeah, for sure. It's got to be so nerve-wracking. Being him, I know he's been in big stages and stuff, and he's a wrestler, and he's super famous. But going from fake fighting to real fighting, but pretty much on the same stage, just pay-per-view, just everything's on you, it must have been just hectic, right? Don't you think? I'd probably be shitting and throwing up at the same time backstage.
I actually wonder if it almost messed with him a little bit as well, because I know in WWE he was the man. you know, he was like world champ and this and that. And then, you know, he goes to UFC and he kind of gets made fun of, and, you know, he gets beat by guys that aren't really respected and stuff like that.
Dude,
I wonder if that messes with him.
I think his ego probably hurt him.
uh,
If he didn't think like, oh, I'm this big shot guy, like I should be fighting on the pay-per-view or this and that. Maybe if he would have like maybe took a couple amateur fights, maybe fought a couple cans as a pro. You know what I mean? Because there's plenty
Actually
of
got
like
built up a little.
you know, he wouldn't even need to necessarily fight amateur. He could have went pro, fought a couple cans, you know, built some experience, and then made a UFC run, and it probably would have worked out a lot better.
He probably, yeah. I mean, if he had the patience to even just get to like 5-0 or something, and then
he's 45 years old right now. So
Well, how long ago was that when he fought?
like probably like when he was like in like probably around 40 years old.
Yeah.
So
Was that
His 5 years ago? It might have been like more than 5
Yeah,
years.
I thought it
probably
was
is.
longer.
Time has flown
time-
by,
yeah.
especially
I
like the
don't know,
COVID times, man. It was like
exactly.
we just
Maybe
like
10 years
skipped those
ago.
years.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say,
10 years ago.
I thought that was like 10 years
Yeah.
ago now.
His first fight, he landed no strikes, nothing, everything 0. Mickey Ball just took him down and just beat him up and choked him out. Just imagine like your first fight on pay-per-view that happens, and then you come back and fight Mike Jackson, who just embarrasses you.
They should have put someone in there that was gonna play with them a little more.
I saw the Mike Jackson fight live.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
He just was embarrassed. It was weird, right? Like,
Yeah, it was weird.
I thought CM Punk could have beat him. Like Mike Jackson, I don't know. I'm not saying it's weird that Mike Jackson was signed as well. I think he was what 1-1 or something when they signed him. They did bring in somebody that he could probably beat, which was Mike Jackson, and Mike Jackson beat him.
Yeah.
But Dana wasn't happy because I think he was like slapping him in the ass or something
He
like
was
that.
he was just clowning him basically.
Idiot,
And
yeah.
then Dana was just like, well, why the fuck didn't you finish him?
Exactly. And then they overturned that fight.
Did they?
Yeah, it says right here it was overturned to a no contest. I think it's because Mike Jackson maybe tested positive for
Right.
weed or
I
something.
remember that. Yeah, he tested positive for some sort of
Yeah,
substance.
weed or something like that. But CM Punk, man, if he goes back in there at the age of 45 or 46 or whatever and fights again, you know, people are gonna laugh at him. It gets to the point where you become a laughing stock, and that's third fight in, and you get smashed again. That's a laughing stock, man.
Let's add this to the to the list of divisions the UFC needs to add.
So
The Legends division,
That is the-
where people can take whatever they want. They can take all the testosterone, all the stuff they ever want. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Because like it was sad to see, like after they like changed the rules, and some people weren't able to be as juiced as they were. It was just like I almost would rather not see them fight. You know what I mean? Like
TRT Vitor.
yeah, I think they should have maybe figured out a place for those guys and then like had some like legend fights. You know what I mean? Because there was definitely some people like after those rules changed, like their performances went downhill, and it's like, dude, I don't know, man. Like, why are you gonna do this to us? Like we grew up off these fighters, we're fans of these fighters, and now you're like, you're feeding them to these young guys that like you have regular good testosterone levels, and they're just all like shriveled up, getting beat up. Oh man,
These poor raisins.
Yeah,
the worst one. I don't know if you guys
babies
ever
in a can.
seen the meme where show like they add a little skateboard when he fights Oven St. Preux. Oven St. Preux like knocks him out, and like they make it look like a little skateboard fell into the octagon. He like slipped on it, and I'm like, man, how you gonna do Shogun like that?
I know,
Yeah.
I know, so good.
But to be fair, man, some of these guys, every time they fight, after a certain point, I just go, just retire.
They're just really hanging on.
Just retire, please. Like it was hard watching Shogun fight.
It's like, bro, if you need money, I'm sure there's some ways where you can get some money.
Yeah.
I heard Shogun comes from like a
100%.
rich family. Like he never had to fight. Like it wasn't like he was like it's not like he was like an Anderson Silva where he was sleeping in the gyms and all that. Like,
but it's crazy to see like his last obviously performances and to think like back when he fought Forrest Griffin, he was considered the best in the world.
pound for pound,
Yeah, pound for pound, best in the world.
But he was, right? Like
I mean, he was.
he was a murderer, right?
Yeah.
Like the dude, like watching him in Pride. That's when I moved to back to Asia, was like 2004. Pride was kicking off. Like it was just going, and I got to watch it for free live because I was living in Korea, same time zone as Japan. And they had it live on TV
That's so
every
awesome.
So let's hope Tatsuro Taira remains undefeated, fights for the flyweight championship, becomes the flyweight champion, and they bring UFC back to Japan and have a UFC event in Saitama Super Arena.
Oh, could you imagine?
Dude, that would be so cool.
Could you imagine?
I would be like, please put me on that card. I'll fight anyone.
They got some good Japanese prospects now. That road to UFC, the kids that won those,
It's doing a good job.
There's some good kids, man, from Japan fighting right now. Really, like really talented. There's one guy, he was like a Olympic alternate wrestler, but the dude's just knocking everybody out. Like he just fought last week, I think. Kazumi or something. I don't know. They all sound the same name. But I'm saying, the kid is good.
It's good he said that.
All right. No, but I say that to everybody. Yeah, what were we talking about? CM Punk, man. He's gonna make news forever. If he does come back, maybe I could fight him. That'd be cool. That'd be cool to just be like one fight in the UFC and it's against CM Punk. Win or lose, that's gonna help me no matter what.
Yeah.
Nah, you'd murder him. So not win or lose.
Like that would be awesome. Just be like,
maybe they should do something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The pre.
I'll do it. If it's pay-per-view, like let's say like I go automatically onto pay-per-view fighting CM Punk, I would put in a camp and fight CM Punk.
I'll help you in your camp, bro. I'll hold the pads, man.
We'll you in the corner, dude. We'll be on pay-per-view. Like imagine like walking into like what is it? Let's say Spain. Like let's say they do pay-per-view in Spain with Ilia Topuria in that, what is it, Real Madrid stadium.
Oh wow.
And then CM Punk wants to come back for that. And they say, okay, who's gonna fight him? I'd be like, I'll fight him. Imagine that. Like that would be incredible, but that would
I got my fingers crossed for you, bro.
Yeah, man, me too. Four of them. Anyways, yeah, it'd be cool, but I don't think CM Punk's gonna come back. I don't think those training camps and stuff. Those are just too grueling for people, man. Like,
I think I've hardly got hurt in a fight. I've got hurt during training so many times.
There's so much, man. So much.
All right. Speaking of Pride, Fedor. Talking about he wants to fight Francis Ngannou in a boxing match, dude.
That can't go well. That can't go well.
What's crazy is that, in a sense, I feel like sometimes boxing's harder. Like you're limited with your tools. Like especially if you're not coming from a boxing background, you're coming from like doing MMA and like certain things like crazy. I don't know if the crazy Fedor overhand is going to be as effective.
Bro,
in boxing, you know what I mean?
And Ngannou, first of all, is still prime, right?
Yeah.
And second of all, he just basically beat Tyson Fury, man. Like,
yeah.
And he's gonna be in shape. He just fought. He's getting ready to fight Wilder, right? So why would Fedor think, other than for money? Why would he think that's a good idea?
Is he fighting Wilder or is he fighting Anthony Joshua?
Anthony Joshua.
Oh, okay. I thought it was Wilder. Joshua.
Man, they all look the same.
What is it? What's his name? Like Ngannou, he's just so big. Like he's like, to be honest, he's kind of built for the heavyweight boxing. Just a big, long bruiser. Like imagine the jab that he could throw on Fedor. Fedor's like lower down, just. Imagine the jab.
Maybe the Fedor overhand will work.
Oh, on the jab, right?
Because if he's jabbing all low, Fedor's going to hit him with that signature overhand he has.
And Fedor, he fights like this. Like he doesn't fight with his hands up.
No.
And he almost kind of has like a karate blitz sometimes. Like he kind of bounces and then boom, chucks it.
He was really fast for a heavyweight for his time.
How old is Fedor now?
He's in his 40s.
And he hasn't looked too good the last couple of fights.
Nah.
And he even said it himself. He's like, yeah, I can't do MMA anymore, but I'd be interested in doing some boxing.
Yeah. And it's like,
if you said grappling, I'd be like, all right. There's no
Yeah, I
brain
agree.
damage, you know what I mean? But
I
boxing,
agree.
dude,
If
that's
he
like more brain damage.
if he
in some
yeah,
ways.
if he was like, yeah, I'll do like some super matches, you know, super fights for grappling, I'd be like, all right, that's
Mhm.
cool. I'd be more excited to see that because when I see the him being like, oh yeah, I'll box Ngannou, I'm just like picturing Fedor like lifeless on the canvas, and I'm going, oh no,
But it's all about money. Boxing
yeah.
is where the money is, and I just don't understand how that is happening right now. That boxing is where all the big money is, and MMA is kind of just like
I mean, isn't that has to
don't
do
know.
with Don King and
I
all
don't
the
know. I don't. Don King is still around. He's alive.
no. I'm talking about like the
Oh
previously.
yeah.
I thought he was the one that kind of
Oh, he was ripping everybody off, Don
well,
King.
yeah, but I thought that's kind of what put
Mm.
money into boxing,
Yeah,
right?
true.
And then,
I don't. Fedor, man. I think sometimes like that's one thing. I think that happens in interviews when people do interviews is like the interviewer asks hypothetical questions, and then the fighter responds with the hypothetical answer, and then they run with that as an article, and it
Yeah.
happens all the time, right? And maybe he didn't even probably bring it up. He was probably just talking about something else, and then they're like, hey, you know, Francis is boxing now, you know, like just hot topic issues, right? Johnny, you've been interviewed. You've been interviewed, right? Like, how many interviewers that you've run into that were just asking you questions about other people, but not you? They're just talking about, oh, did you watch the title fight again? What do you think of that fight? Oh, what do you think of the matchup about between this person and this person? Like, have you ever done interviews where it's just all that? Like, this is a podcast, right? So it's like we're talking news issues, but I'm saying like when you're doing an interview, like a pre-fight interview ahead of a fight, have you ran into people like that?
Not like a crazy amount. Usually, you know, towards the end of the
Mhm.
interview, they'll stick in some questions like that. But yeah, definitely not like the whole time.
Yeah. The thing is, like, sometimes I'll watch interviews, right? Because I interview people, so I have to watch other people interview people, and also like I have to be prepared for my victims, or not my sorry, not victims, my you know, my guests, right? Like Johnny, you know what I mean? Like Johnny, you know, you've been hit before, but I have to be prepared, you know, like as best as I can, and but so I watch other interviews that like you've done. Like I'll go back and even sometimes I'll watch an interview you've done like 4 years ago, just to see like how you were 4 years ago. I don't know if other people do that, but I do that sometimes just to see the person. Like sometimes I've never even seen a fighter fight before, and I have to interview them. So what do? I go back and watch their fights a little bit just to
Sounds like you're doing a good job.
yeah,
pulling
really,
something
he's
out,
doing his job right.
pulling something out of the fight that nobody's gonna fucking ask him about. Like, hey, in the second round of that fight, like I'll ask him like I watched that fight live. Be like, yo, in the second round, you had that, you know, that heel hook, you know, it didn't even, it's probably a very small moment of the fight, but he had a heel hook or something. I was like, dude, how close was that? And they'd be like, oh, you remember that? You know, I think fighter, like people, when you show like you know something about them, like when you're interviewing them, they respond better.
100%.
Right?
Even when you interviewed me, right?
Yeah.
I remember you were asking me, you know, about growing up in Hong Kong, about being a Guaylo and stuff, and that those angles, right? Like I was like, oh man, he knows what a Guaylo is, and like I was able to like kind of get into it a little.
Yeah, you gotta be ready. Sometimes I'm not the best prepared all the time, but I try to be. You know what I mean? I try to be. I try to do my best. Anyways, but uh Ngannou boxing, right? Fedor, let's take him out of the equation because you know, come on, Fedor. We love you. You're probably the best pride fighter of all time. Probably. There's some heavy duties like Vanderlei Silva was a murderer during the Pride years, right?
Yeah.
That's like fully juiced Vanderlei Silva. Like he didn't even know where he was at. He probably didn't even know he was fighting in Japan at the time. He's so juiced, right? This is what he just like wrecked Rampage Jackson, right? Those are, you know, I don't know. I bet you somebody's watching this. They're like, who the hell is Vanderlei Silva? Even though he just went into the Hall of Fame, UFC Hall of Fame. But I'm saying like, who the hell are these people? I was like, if you don't know who Fedor is, go watch his fight against Hongman Choi. He fought a giant and armbarred him.
But think about like the amount of people that probably don't know who like Sakuraba is.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like that kills me.
There's people that don't even know who Shogun is.
Yeah. And it's like one word. you should know who Shogun is. If
Yeah.
you watch the sport, one word, Shogun, you should know. Like, there's no other Shogun. If you want to come along and say, like, you're a Shogun, no, you're not. There's only one Shogun.
There's one Shogun. Yeah.
Stop it. You know what I mean? When Shogun goes into the Hall of Fame, that name never can be used again. Right? It's like, it's part of the deal. Once you put yourself in the rafters, you know, you can't use the number again. But yeah, Fedor, stop it. Stop it. Ngannou, I think Ngannou is gonna beat some boxers. I think he has a good chance to like beat Anthony Joshua. It's weird to say that, but I think he does.
It's so weird with boxing because I feel like, you know, all these like big boxers have just kind of been like babied throughout their career.
Yeah,
that's where it's like it's different than MMA because like, and I guess it's starting to happen more in MMA where guys are getting built similar to the way people were built in boxing. But man, some of these boxers are just like they're a little soft, man. And I appreciate boxing and like I said, like if you were to take away all my weapons, I think, you know, boxing's difficult. But you know, some of these guys, like there's fights that should have happened long ago. So like, what is all this weird stuff where like the best guys don't fight each other? It's just such a weird sport to me.
Yeah.
Everybody's
kind of build up these two guys to be.
Yeah, it's nobody wants to lose. Well, nobody wants to lose, but I'm saying that nobody wants to take the risk to be great.
Yeah,
which is possibly losing in that, you know, in that process. They wants to like have it always their way. You know, like there was always arguing about contracts. Boxers are always arguing about like what weight are we fighting at? You know, like is it for this belt and this belt, or is it for like where are we fighting? What type of drug testing are we going through? Like they're like boxing is very intricate compared to like MMA, because MMA is the promotion says like, yo, you're fighting at lightweight. This is the contract. There's the name. Sign it or not.
That's also what happens when there's one promotion with a monopoly. When one promotion is running the show on the sport.
But
that's
like,
also what happens.
but like but it also makes it simple too for people to like for the fighters. You know what I mean? It's like, but like if you fight for Ryzen, you get to choose the rule set in the contract ahead of the fight.
You can wear shoes.
You can wear shoes.
You're not allowed to head kick and teep, but you're allowed to wear shoes.
So if you want to wear shoes,
you contract it in the contract.
Yeah, you could just
negotiate.
You could just then you just won't be able to
head kick.
Or wear or
no, but I've seen people kick with the shoes on. Yeah, Manel Kopp wore shoes in some of his fights.
But did he head kick?
He was kicking. I don't know if he was head kicking, but he was kicking.
I thought it was if you wore wrestling shoes, you couldn't head kick, but you can still kick the body and the leg.
That's a stupid rule to me. Like if you're gonna wear shoes, just wear shoes and you use your foot for whatever, right?
Yeah, well, it's just I think definitely the shoe can make the toes into a weapon.
Yeah, for sure.
Like a toe stab with no shoes isn't the same as a toe stab with shoes. Like I remember one time someone hit me right in the solar plex with their shoes on.
Yeah.
And Mark Smith was doing some mock refereeing at the gym, and he was like, "Yo, dude, don't do that with your shoes on."
But yeah, like with Ryzen, like you could negotiate elbows. Like, do you want elbows? No elbows. Elbows. Like full MMA rules, right?
Yeah.
Soccer kicks, knees to a grounded opponent in the head. Like all that stuff is like negotiated ahead of the fight.
Rules.
Yeah, pride rules. I like that. I like that they do that, and it's different from the UFC. UFC is following the commission stuff, right? So it's fine. But I like that other promotions have the different things. Like even one championship, they have Muay Thai with the MMA gloves on. I like that. I like that style,
I like that better than their MMA, to be honest.
Yeah, like that's a big argument.
Muay Thai with the small gloves. That draws me more than the MMA fights.
Have you been to Lumpini yet for the one fights?
Yeah. I checked out the one fights a couple weeks ago.
Okay. It's a crazy environment in there. You know, it's just kind of tight, and then just like, I like it. It initiates like more violence. The small gloves, because like the defense is not the same.
Yeah.
You know, like even technical guys that are known to be a little bit more technicians, when they go fight in Lumpini with the smaller gloves, their game changes. Because once you get hit, it's not the same, you know what I mean, as the big gloves.
Well, I think I said it before in one of the podcasts, like you can see the guys that it's like their first like fight with the small gloves, and they go in and they really struggle because they're they're used to being able to cover up, and those shots just go through, and they just
Yeah, and some of these guys, I feel like they still have the habits of big gloves. Even Jonathan Haggerty, you know, he pulled off the win, but like right off the bat, there was a couple times when they were slugging and he was covering up like he had boxing gloves, but the shots were getting through, and you know he was getting hurt. He got dropped early in that fight, but made a comeback. Fight, yeah, that was a great fight.
Oh my god, I've been to some of the I went to like maybe the last 6 shows for one championship last year, and I got to watch some of the craziest. I got to watch Rod Tang versus Super Leg in front row, dude.
So sick,
dude. Awesome. It was just insane watching that. The crowd just like like just they were going crazy, man. Rod Tang Super Leg, what a fight, man! Just to be in there, and sometimes I've watched so many fights that I forget that I've watched them, or I forget that fight even exists. Do you get that sometimes? Like, did they fight? Do you forget fights?
I don't think I forget. I forget what happened. I remember that they fought, but then I'll be like, I have to go look up what happened, and like, oh yeah,
yeah. I was thinking that earlier when we were talking about some fights. It's like, man, I remember those guys fighting, but I don't remember how it went.
Yeah. Well,
I get that all the time.
We were talking about. I was talking about that about Moreno and
Royval. Yeah,
Royval. Yeah. And then I had to look it up, and I was like, that was a TKO. And then I watched it before this because they have their rematch coming up.
Yeah, that's this weekend.
Yeah, and I was like, that wasn't really a TKO. Royval's shoulder popped out. Yeah.
Oh, was he winning?
He wasn't winning.
It was competitive.
It was competitive, yeah.
But there was a clear grappling edge for Moreno, right, in that fight?
Yeah, which is funny because he was the brown belt and Royval was a black belt. But yeah, Moreno was winning, but it was still competitive. And then he was like hammer fisting, and Royval went to do like a transition, and his shoulder just pops out.
Yeah.
And they stopped the fight while he's getting hammer fisted. But it was definitely the shoulder that was the issue. Like they even freeze framed it, and I think Joe Rogan was the one that pointed out that like the shoulder was
just popped out. Yeah. Oh, wow. Like he was like kind of like in a weird position, right? Where he was just kind of like stuck like this. At first, you couldn't tell his shoulder was out, but then you saw like him in pain, and then they stopped the fight, from what I remember. Yeah. But yeah, man. Before we talk about UFC Mexico coming up, there's some great fights on here. The video of you and those dudes fighting Sean Strickland inside Syndicate. Talk about that.
Man, after seeing that video, I realized, like, dude, I should have been going harder. Like, if I would have known that video was like gonna become so viral, like, man, I just wish I would have tried harder because, like, I don't know, I thought it was ridiculous. And to be honest, it's kind of hard to fight one dude when you got like 2 dudes in the way. There's like at one point, like I was like trying to like pick my shot, and like I tried to teep him, and then I was like tripping over one of the other guy's feet. And then at one point, like Tom shot on his legs, and I was just like, all right, well, I'm just gonna go for a body lock and hold him. And then the other guy was freaking punching me in the side of the head. You know what I mean? And then even at one point, Strickland was like, "You just punched Johnny, you bitch!" Like it was just the craziest thing. Like even though we're all ganging up on him, like he still was like, "Dude, you just hit Johnny in the back of the head," you know? And it was kind of funny, and I just think it's also really funny, like when I took him down at the end, everyone was just going, "Oh," but it was just like really the only reason I think the takedown came so easy is because, you know, he was still like physically punching with the other guy. So I just took him down. But
who thought of that? Like who?
Yeah, it's Strickland. He's crazy.
I was gonna say it was Strickland. Wasn't
Strickland came up to you guys and said, "Hey, I want to fight 3 dudes by myself, and please record it."
Yeah. It was like after practice, he was like, "Yeah, let's do this." And then we did it.
What a lunatic.
Yeah, I just wish I would have went harder.
What a lunatic, man. Like, yeah. And then so you see that Sneeko thing that happened, right? Like lit up the
That was in the PI, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was in the PI, right? And what'd you think when you saw that? What'd you think?
Man, it was kind of weird and awkward. And then like Sneako's all out of it, and Strickland was like, "Man, good job, you didn't go down." You know what I mean? And it was just kind of like, I don't know, it was just awkward.
You're right, man. It was just weird. Like he went to congratulate him for taking a beating.
Yeah.
It was like a gang initiation.
It was
or
weird. I
something.
almost feel like Strickland, like he felt kind of bad. It was just like, because he's actually, people have always said like, oh, he's crazy, but like, I was training at Extreme Couture a little bit before coming out here, and it's just crazy to see the difference. Like that place has really brought a better side out of him.
Oh, really?
Whereas when he was over at Syndicate, he wasn't much of a team player. But his time over at Extreme, he's more of a team player. Like he cares about his teammates and things like that. And I think a lot of people don't know, that side of him.
Oh, they only see the the interviews and the videos, right? And his famous car post, like when he's driving down the car, he's just like, I was thinking about this, you know what I mean? Like it just goes off in the car, right? Like he's, that's what they know him of. They don't know him like they don't know like his story or whatnot. But I thought that was funny, man. Like, but to me, I thought him beating up that dude, like, I think Sean just enjoys that stuff, and that's why he did it as well.
I think it's definitely it's probably certain people, But then like at the end of it, like I don't know, like how well you can take a beating. He'll respect you.
Yeah, that's weird, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you respect someone for taking a beating, but you're giving the beating. It's like what? That's like terrible parenting, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's something you tell your kids, don't be like that, kids. Like if I had I have a daughter, I would be like, don't be like that, to my daughter, you know what I mean? But it's a trip.
I haven't told him this personally, but after the Cannonier fight, I was kind of pissed. I was like, bro, I'm thinking to myself, like, how are you gonna spar me harder than you went at freaking Jared Cannonier? You know what I mean? Like, I was kind of like irritated, like, bro, you try harder against me than you did in that fight. What's up with that?
For real, right? He's supposed to be the guy that's just like, he loves it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's had some funny fights though. Like the fight against Jack Hermanson, it was pretty good. Like especially as in the PI or at the Apex, where you just hear everything. He's just like, "Come on, Jack! Come on, Jack! Hit me some more, Jack!"
Oh, not Hermanson. It was some other Jack.
Oh, you're talking about?
You're right.
It wasn't Jack Hermanson?
No, it was another dude named Jack.
It was a different Jack. Yeah.
It was different Jack.
Yeah.
I thought it was Hermanson for some reason.
No, because I'm remembering that fight, and I remember like, "Come on, Jack, let's go, let's go."
What a lunatic, man! Did he fight Paulo Costa yet?
No, but maybe that's a fight to make.
That's the fight. I think that's a great fight right there. Either Whitaker or Paulo Costa. They haven't fought each other, right? But I think Paulo Costa would be better. Imagine both those dudes. Like Paulo Costa's the one that's doing it as well. He'll talk shit.
Imagine the press conference.
Oh yeah, it'd be great.
That fight would have more hype,
Mhm.
but really, I think the fight to make would be Strickland versus Whitaker.
Yeah, of course.
Because they're both up there, and I think like they would be fighting for that who's gonna fight for the belt. What I mean? Earn their shot back up at the top.
Yeah, it's I don't know. Strickland, he's in a good position. Even though he lost the title, a lot of people believe that he won that fight. So he's kind of like in a position where he could fight somebody and get back into the title. You know what I mean? But he has a hard road.
I think, one more good fight against another one of the guys that are like trying to get in that title picture. I think he's there.
Yeah, that's what
so
I'm saying.
Like a fight
Whitaker.
again. Whitaker.
He beats Whitaker. It's a strong argument. To fight again.
100%.
And Izzy not being the champ is good for everybody. To be honest.
Yeah, I guess it's a chance for Whitaker because we've seen Whitaker and Izzy fight already a couple times, right?
Yeah, but he lost to Duplessis.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was a crazy fight. What was crazy is because like Duplessis rocked Whitaker and like didn't even realize it and kind of did this like weird flinch. Like he rocked him, but then like kind of flinched and then it was like, oh, he's hurt.
Oh,
and
no,
then started
I
chasing him down.
Yeah.
Like I was expecting to be that Strickland and Duplessis fight to be like more goonish.
Yeah.
I thought they were gonna like goon each other a little
But they
more, but
didn't.
they did it like towards the end, but like I thought they were gonna goon on each other a little bit
I
more.
was disappointed, man, by that fight. Like it was a competitive fight and all that, but it wasn't the fight that I thought it was gonna happen. I thought Duplessis was gonna be more aggressive. I thought Strickland was gonna be more aggressive as well, but it's just like I don't know. It's hard to judge those rounds, right? Like there was long periods of nothing.
I think sometimes also when you get two guys that are usually pretty aggressive or usually aggressive, and they know like how much power the other person has, it ends up being more like a chess match sometimes. And then it's like, think about like Ngannou and Lewis.
Oh yeah, one of the worst fights.
One of the worst fights of all time, right? Because they know that both of them have the power to like knock the shit out of the other, right? Sometimes. I think sometimes it just like happens like that. And then you get, sluggernauts.
I've always heard how bad that fight was, but
they just basically did this.
I don't think I've ever watched that fight fully. You definitely trying to say,
yeah, I haven't watched it, and just
my parents saw it live.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah, they were super upset.
And that was the main event, right? Or
no, it was like a co-main,
yeah,
something like that. But yeah,
one of the worst fights of all time.
Francis was like, he had his like moments of down, you know what I mean? And that was one of them, losing. He was coming off that title fight where, remember they're building him up as this like superhero heading into the first Stipe fight. And everybody's just like, he's going to knock Stipe's head off. It's going to be, and then Stipe just said, what? Wrestling, right? And just aggressive. Yeah, that was a great fight. But yeah, I think Francis had his low moments too, man. It was never like all, even the UFC kind of like gave up on him a little bit, right? After that Derek Lewis fight, they're like, what are you doing? Like he doesn't, I think Dana White said in the interview, like, he doesn't have it. He doesn't have it anymore. You know what I mean? Like Dana would be saying some things about fighters, man, that I think it really like he knows it's like hurting them. And
yeah, of course.
He just says it just like, I know this is gonna rip you apart a little bit. I'm gonna say it because we're having negotiations or something, I don't know. Dana be playing some mind games, man. He's a smart dude. But no more Dana talk. Let's talk UFC Mexico. Now, do you know anybody fighting on the card that off the top of your head? Like any people you train with or anybody like that?
My buddy Raul Rosas Jr. is
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, there you go. He's fighting Ricky Tercios.
Oh, that would be a cool one.
It is a cool fight, man. It is a cool fight. Raul, man, what do you think of him? How old is he now? Is he 19 or something now? Yeah, he's 19.
Oh, wow.
He's 19 years
Time
old
flies.
now.
Yeah, like I was just thinking the same thing.
His balls dropped. He's 19, right?
Yeah.
He's ready to go. He's 2-1 in the UFC.
How long ago was his last fight?
September last year.
That was the L against Christian Rodriguez.
Yeah.
No,
right?
that was actually
Terrence.
Terrence Mitchell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like a good fight for Raul to come back to, right?
I forgot.
It's crazy when sometimes like Terrence Mitchell wasn't even in. I think he just got
signed for
that fight.
Yeah.
He was like from Ultimate Fighter or something.
Yeah, he's the one who got knocked out by Kai Kara France on the Ultimate Fighter, like the first week of the show, and he was knocked out the show, and then he comes and makes his debut and gets knocked out the first round.
I didn't even remember that fight happened. To be
honest. It was 54 seconds.
I was thinking that his last fight was D-Rod.
Yeah. C-Rod.
D-Rod.
C-Rod was here. Did you see him? He was here like
we ran into each other a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, like I think Raul, man, that loss, it doesn't hurt him at all, man. He's 19 years old. That's what's great about MMA. Like you could lose. You know what I mean? I just hope that they don't do what they did to Sage Northcutt and they do it to him too.
They tried to rush him already and he lost. That was the thing.
But the thing is, like, I just hope that they don't just push him to like, I like the Ricky Tercios matchups. You know what I mean? Because like Jay Perrin, you know, the guy he was from Syndicate, you know, that was a good matchup for him, right? Because they trained together in the past, I believe. I interviewed Jay before that fight. He told me like
I helped Jay.
you helped, yeah. So and then the Christian Rodriguez, that was like another big prospect, and you know that he had him. He was close to like what is it, the rear naked choke in that fight, like once in the first round, twice in the first round, or something like that.
Yeah, it's always the first round with Raul.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
And the Terrence Mitchell, he just like ran over him. It was just bad, but he needed that. Now he's faking Ricky. He's like an interesting style, Ricky. Have you seen him fight?
Yeah,
He's just like he's kind of, I don't know. He's Filipino, I think.
he's like some weird mix of like Filipino and like Argentinian.
Yeah, something like that. He looks like that. You know, he looks like he looks like a farmer. To me, he looks like a farmer. Like he'd be wearing like the straw hat and he'd be having like that little weed on the side and he's just like in his tractor. That's what he looks like to me. But Ricky, he can fight. But I think Raul has the advantage in this fight. The reason why I think the Raul's grappling, even though Ricky can grapple as well, but I think Raul's wrestling is gonna make it difficult for Ricky, unless they stand and trade. How is Raul striking, you think?
Well, it's looking better in that last fight against Terrence Mitchell. You know what I mean? Sometimes sometimes it's just having the confidence to throw, just having the confidence to go and throw. You know what I mean?
It is, man. I have that issue with like sparring and striking. It's like certain things I'm like, you know what you need to do, but you don't have the confidence to get into that danger zone to throw it.
Yeah.
You know,
you can't wait either, man. Like,
yeah, you gotta go.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. Like I'll like hesitate, and the next thing you know, I'm getting countered, and I'm just like, fuck, I hate this guy. No,
Right.
no, but yeah. The danger zone. That's the thing. That's always in my mind.
Danger zone.
The danger zone. Like when you get to that danger zone, right? Like, oh man, I don't want to get a counter. I don't want to get hit. But it's like you jump, and then sometimes I'll get in, and I'll just like sometimes I have this bad habit of just kind of like raising up a little bit before I throw another punch, which is a terrible habit, right? Because you're like leaving yourself open like that.
Just for that split second.
I've been hit with counters on that as well. Sucks. All right. But anyways, you're picking Raul?
Picking Raul.
Oh, because the cameras are on. No, I'm just kidding.
No, man. That's my buddy, man. Like pretty close with their whole family. So
yeah.
They had been like kind of in and out of, before they finally moved to Vegas, they had visited a handful of times, and like I always talked to his dad, and yeah, they're just a great family. Like their family reminds me a little bit of my family. You know what I mean? Like 3 boys that have just been doing it since they were like, little kids. So like I kind of have always admired their family, and like kind of thinking like, oh man, like my kids are gonna grow up and be like the three Rosa brothers,
the 3 amigos.
Yeah.
If they came, like let's say they came to your son with a contract at 16 years old to fight in the UFC, would you, like your son is ready to go, like he's been training since like what, like so young, so like I don't think he'd be not ready at 16, but would you think like you would sign the contract to allow him to do that?
Yeah, I'd be down for it, but it would just be one of those things, man, especially with the way MMA's been going, is like they take a little bit more time to build these guys. Whereas before, like, right, you're fighting the best guys right away. But certain people that have that hype, you know what I mean? Like some people get built and some people get stepped on. They're the stepping stones of the ladder.
I do think that, funnily enough, MMA is almost like I don't want to say like an older guy's game, but you see like a lot of the time, like most of the champions are in their 30s.
Yeah.
Right. And you also see that a lot of the guys that end up getting in really young, they don't last all the time. Like I hope Raul does. Right. But you just see a lot of these like really young guys, like they're not all like Holloway, who is in it for 10 years from 20 to 30 and still going strong and building a legacy and stuff. A lot of time they're in for a couple years, they disappear and they never come back. Right. And whether it's burnout or injury or this or that, sometimes I think maybe it's better if you get into the UFC a little bit later, or even if it's not later, like you take your time with the fights that you get and you don't try to rush up that ladder too fast or anything, because it's just like you see the longevity seems to be, it's just better for the older guys.
The UFC needs a like they should turn Contender Series into a yearly thing and then have it kind of like as a B league. So even if like veterans like in the UFC, like instead of cutting them right away, maybe put them on the Contender Series and have them fight the younger guys to prove themselves back to go on to the regular UFC cards. Then like your career is just not kaput like instantly. Like, you know, they could come at you and be like, yo, you know, what would you feel about, you're on a 3-fight losing streak, blah, blah, blah. You know, we could cut you, but what would you about go to the Contender Series, fight, you win, you're back here, another 3-fight contract. How do you feel? You know, like they should have something like that, right? The UFC is big enough for that. They're the biggest league. Like the NBA has their little smaller like G leagues and B leagues and all that shit. The NFL probably has something similar too. And what is it? Baseball has it without a doubt, right? They have minor leagues. They need to have something, but that's connected directly to the UFC. Like the UFC owns both properties, right? Not like, oh, you're gonna go fight an LFA. That doesn't guarantee you go back into the UFC, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna go back to LFA, right? So they need to have something, because I think a lot of these veterans and some of these guys that get signed really young, they fight twice and they're cut and you never hear from them again. They almost like their career got cut short, or they just went into the UFC too early, right? If they allowed them to just fight on a Contender Series for like a year, maybe 3 or 4 times, and prove themselves, instead of just fighting once or twice, right? The most somebody fights in Contender Series is like twice. That's if you're like they want you to be on in the UFC, right? But they should have something like that, I think.
That would be cool if Contender Series like did move into being like kind of like a regular roster of like upcoming prospects.
Yeah.
And maybe that could be a place for guys that like, have a lot of hype, but still are like, 3-0 or something like that. And
CM
can build.
Yeah.
He could have fought like just dudes that came in and, with like 1-0, 0-1 records, right? On the Contender Series, your idea. And then eventually he would have been ready, to go, even though he would have got his ass beat, but he still would have been better off with the experience.
And, some of these guys that you're talking about, they have a record that's kind of full of cans.
Mm-hmm.
They get into the UFC, have to fight some real motherfuckers, and you know what I mean? Don't have the best time, and then they're cut.
Yeah.
But if they had a spot where like these guys that kind of have padded records could kind of fight each other and then prove themselves, like that'd be a better deal.
The sort of in between,
Did you fight on Contender Series?
Yeah.
Okay, I was checking right now to see if you did. But yeah, man, was that hectic? Like, legit, like, was that more nerve-wracking, the Contender Series, than your UFC debut?
There was a moment. I was sitting in the fighter hotel, the day of the fight, earlier in the day. I don't know where everyone was, but I was by myself, and I thought to myself, I was like, man, because I kind of had a long road. There was different times. It's like, man, I messed up. I didn't do this right. Like, I'm never gonna make it to the big show, But there I was, and I thought to myself, I was like, man, it's like, what am I gonna do if I lose? Am I gonna, have to go back and like go on another win streak in the regional scene? Like, it was just like, and then I started thinking, I was like, man, I haven't taken care of my teeth very well. Like, oh, man, what if I lost a tooth? And then I just told myself, you know what? I'm not going to go back to the regional scene because I'm going to get into the UFC, and he ain't going to knock my tooth out. I'm going to knock his tooth out. And then later that night, both those things happened. So it's just crazy.
That is, man. That's a lot of pressure to just be alone, in your mind, thinking of that, you know what I mean? And then being able to like flip the switch.
That's one of those things the psychologist was talking about.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Is that like when you have those doubts, you got to have answers
for the questions in your mind.
Yeah. But one thing is that the answers have to be backed by something,
Mhm.
or else it's just delusion. You know what I mean? Like if someone gets like, oh no, I'm not gonna lose because I'm gonna win. But like, what is your belief coming? Where is that belief coming from that you're saying that you're gonna win? You know what I mean? And I just look back at my life and everything I've been through, and I just said, you know what, like all those moments I lived through, like built me up to this moment, and I got this.
Man, let's talk about the co-main event here. Yair Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega. That's a fight. That's a great fight. And you know what's funny that Brian Ortega, I saw this like meme about him where he fights so infrequent where he can shave his head in one fight and then the next fight he'll have a full long hair ponytail.
Oh wow.
Yeah, like they
What
showed
haircut
it.
do you think we're gonna get?
I don't know. Well, I think he has long hair now.
Depends
But
if he makes weight.
yeah, like, but the like the zombie fight, he shaved his head, and in the next fight, I don't know who his next fight was. Maybe it was Volk. His hair was long.
Yeah.
It was just like that's how infrequent he fights, and that's the big knock on him. It's like he doesn't fight enough, but he's still a top 10 fighter. But you know what I mean? Like it's Yair. I don't know. Who do you give the advantage to in this fight?
Is Ortega more of a jiu-jitsu guy than a wrestler, right?
Yeah, he comes from the Gracie.
Yeah,
Guess
he's
what,
a
dude?
jiu-jitsu.
I'm going Yair all the way. Yair's gonna take it. I don't think Ortega stands a chance. If Ortega had some wrestling, I think he might be able to shut down Yair's game. But Yair can grapple, man. He threw Emmett in that triangle.
Yeah.
Was it triangle or armbar?
Yeah,
It was a triangle,
triangle.
right?
Triangle. Yeah.
So he got some grappling skills, and I just think Yair's striking is just on another level than
Ortega's
Ortega's.
grappling is amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, he almost finished Volk, right?
Oh,
Right?
Yeah.
Like closest to, to Poirier to getting that belt. I just think that he's so infrequent that I don't see him being able to necessarily like Rodriguez is active and Ortega is not, right? You got to be active in this.
And I think Yair is he's just way more dynamic.
I agree.
Oh, like his the kicks and the angles of the kicks that he throws. You know, this is a rematch. You guys know that, right?
It is
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Who won the first one?
Rodriguez.
No, the rematch. The first one, Rodriguez won because Ortega got a shoulder injury in the fifth round.
Oh.
Right? So this is a rematch of that. That was in 2022.
Yo, I forgot about that.
So Ortega, like Yair, since that fight, he beat Emmett and he fought Volk for the title, right?
Yeah.
Ortega, since that fight, let's see who he's fought.
Has he done anything?
He hasn't fought anybody. He's been out the whole time. And he's on a 2-fight losing streak. And he's lost 3 out of his last 4.
Wait.
But he's lost to like Volk, Yair, and Holloway. So, you know.
Is he prepared for that elevation?
That's also true, right? He's not really known for his gas tank. But he's never really like gassed either.
Well, what's your definition of being gassed?
Like you're just like,
You know, because I think I've seen fights where by the end of it, his face was pretty bloody.
oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
Damage he's taken a lot.
Yeah, but like sometimes that damage comes from being a little too gassed and just being
Yeah.
a little slow on your defense because of being tired.
What about that whole Max Holloway?
I
when he
was
fighting
just
Max,
thinking of that.
and he took his hand in the middle of the fight and put it up to his face, so his hand
Oh,
was.
man.
You remember that?
So like
yeah.
to me, in my opinion, that's gas.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
That's just like
Standing there and having
you're
your
on-
opponent.
That's you're on Queer Street,
Yeah.
and you're taking a left on Lady Boy Ave. You know what
Oh,
I mean? Like, no, just kidding.
Lady Boy Ave.
Yeah, Lady Boy Ave. You can't go down there. But yeah, like Ortega, I think Yair is he's just more dynamic. The striking, I think Ortega's fallen too much in love with his striking, and I don't know how stable his camp is either. Like, who's his coach? Who is he training with?
Yeah, I thought he kind of stripped his team away. at one
Yeah, I
point.
heard that he stripped his team away because there's everybody's like,
Yeah, I don't. Me personally, I'm not impressed with the strikers that are like, mainly just use hands, and I feel like those kind of strikers they only last so long. Like right, like boxing started trending a lot and everyone wanted to be good at boxing, and then all of a sudden calf kicks became popular.
Yeah.
Because like that was the counter. Like, oh, you wanna have sick boxing, you wanna have your footwork like that and your stance like that. Like, I'm just gonna calf kick the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of like a thing, like boxing was trending, and like guys, everyone wanted to be sick at boxing, and then everyone started getting calf kicked.
Mhm. The calf kick, man, I think that's a vital weapon for every MMA fighter. Like if you don't have a calf kick, like you're taking away a huge weapon. Don't you think? Like you gotta be hitting the calf, no?
I think it's one of those like, you know, techniques that have to be used tactically.
Yeah.
Like if someone's stance is open for it, I guess I'm all for it. But like all I know is you try to calf kick me, you're gonna get it checked.
Yeah.
So
Because Volk against Topuria landed some good calf kicks, right?
yeah, but look at Volk's stance.
Yeah, true.
Kind of like his stance is open for it. So
But nobody else did that before, which was weird, right?
Yeah.
but I just
That
think
was
I think there are some people like
Mhm.
even though the calf kick is trending and there's a lot of people that use it, I'm sure there's still some people that are like, you know what I mean? Because it doesn't always go well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the part of the knee that can break that shin is like right next to the best spot as far as like kicking the calf. You know, that target can like Weidman.
Oh,
Man, that one was brutal.
Yeah.
And it's like Uriah Hall just kind of like leaned into it. He didn't even necessarily check.
it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a real check.
Yeah.
It was kind of just like leaned his weight
Yeah.
on it.
It's almost like he was too late to check it, and he just like barely
he
moved.
just wanted to. Yeah, it was
He
like,
was like bracing for impact in
Yeah.
a way.
Yeah.
You know, it was,
So it's like, man, like you just better hope. Like it really is. It's the angle of their stance. Like just a slightly more square, dude, you're hurting yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if it's open and you can work it out. Someone recently was talking about it, how they don't see people getting calf kicked all the time in like these high level striking fights, and it's due to the stance.
Yeah.
People's stance are a little bit different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like they say, like, oh, the stance has to be like that. But I just feel like, yeah, if you're boxing, like maybe adjust your stance, but like I don't necessarily believe you need to alter your striking stance to assist you in defending takedowns. You just either know how to wrestle and can deal with it or not. But I'm not going to change my stance and take away from my striking game for the chance that I might have a better chance defending your takedown.
yeah.
Like I'm just going to do me.
yeah, the calf kicks, man.
I mean, I've always
brutal.
just been comfortable enough with the fact that A, I'm going to stop the takedown, or B, if I get taken down, I have good enough grappling that I'm gonna get back up. That I don't want to have a super wide stance that I'm gonna get calf kicked.
Yeah.
You know,
Man, now every UFC event, at least one fight, someone's getting just brutally calf kicked.
yeah.
You know, and you just like, and they're just, the commentators are emphasizing it. Look at his leg, look at the color, look at how, you know, it's just like they put a lot of mayonnaise on it. You know what I mean?
I'm not going to name names, but I was sparring someone, you know, probably like sometime last year who was kind of famous for having a savage calf kick. And like he was throwing a lot at me during our round, and just with my stance, I could see it a couple times. Like he hurt himself. The next training session, he was wearing this like crazy ankle brace, like one of the ankle braces that have like laces on them and everything. So it's like, yeah, dude, that's what you get. Because those calf kicks, like they like if they do land well, like dude, they mess you up, and they can mess up your training. And it's like I've never been a big fan of it. Like, you know, people throwing them, especially like just like that area is so tender. Like you could ruin someone's training. It's not the same as like yeah, you can dig it into the thigh pretty hard to where like someone needs like a week or two of not getting kicked in that leg. But like, dude, you can like really damage your training partners like calf kicking. You know, you're not going to damage me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I just got the stance for it. But I just thought it was funny. It's like, oh man, you want to throw hard calf kicks? Like, look at you the next day, got some crazy ankle brace, because it's like, you know what I mean? That doesn't always work.
We know who you are. We know. But yeah, like this all started from me taking leg kicks in sparring, and I just took too many, and my leg was just wrecked from sparring. And then I went home and did some dumb shit, and next thing you know, I got these scars to remember my stupidity.
So what? So that's not a bruise. That's a scar.
Yeah, these are scars. So like, these are
Looks like cupping.
Did you cup your bruises?
no. I iced my leg because my leg was just like I couldn't barely walk on it after sparring because I took too many leg kicks to the thigh, and I iced my leg, but I didn't wrap my leg up.
So you
I put ice directly on my leg, and then basically what the ice did was it burned my leg. So these are like
Burn
third
marks.
degree burns, and these are second degree burns
Oh,
from
wow.
ice. And I had to go, dude, this cost me $10,000 to fix. I had to get skin grafts. I had to like get surgery where they were scraping my skin off, dude. That's like the worst pain you'll ever feel in your life.
Oh wow.
And there's nothing. They're just taking like an ice cream scooper looking thing and just going because they have to take all the dead skin away.
Yeah.
So they could just burn the other spots. It
Oh,
was
wow.
man, it was just a whole process. Anyways, I picked Yair to win TKO.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
I think Yair is gonna go do his thing, man. I think Yair, after that Volk fight, it kind of really lit another fire under him. You know what I mean? Because he wasn't doing too terrible, but you know what I mean. I thought he would have had a better chance than he performed. I think he's gonna come in here already. You know, he's mad.
Keeps
And,
talking about how he wants to fight. Well,
Topuria.
actually, he is saying that he wants to beat the shit out of Topuria,
Yeah.
even if it's not in a cage.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
What did Poirier do to him?
He said he should retire because he lost to Volk.
Wow.
Yeah, Topuria's, you know, he's doing his thing. You know what I mean? He's talking his things on all the contenders, luring them in and stuff like that. But Yair, I think he wins TKO. Ortega, I like Ortega a lot, but I just think like he's just too unstable. Like it's hard to like go with a fighter. They're not fighting frequently enough. You don't know like what's really going on with their like training camps and stuff like that. Yair, you know, he has a solid camp. He's always had the same people around him, and he's, you know, he looks better most of the time when he comes out, right? So that fight against Max Holloway, incredible fight, right? If he performs like that against Ortega, he's taking Ortega out. Like that, I don't think Ortega is going to be able to withstand the barrage. You know what I mean? And Ortega's taken some beatings in the last couple of years, dude. Bad ones. What is it? The Volk fight was a pretty bad beating. What was the one before that? Holloway, yes.
Holloway is
Man,
the beating.
It was
of all
one of the.
beating.
It's just ridiculous. It's like up there as the Calvin Kattar beating, right? Max Holloway put on him. It's
Yeah.
like up to that level. You know, Max always puts some beatings on people, man.
That was yeah, that's God level Max.
Yeah,
right?
like just ridiculous.
You know, I wonder if, you know, because I guess sometimes the face could look worse than what it really is,
Mhm.
but I wonder what kind of like orbital fractures
Yeah.
and nose fractures these guys have had, because like I just heard a story about, you know, when John Jones elbowed Brandon Vera,
Mhm.
that when he got his orbital broken, like it was tough mentally.
Mhm.
That there would be like times where he'd get hit in training and think that like his orbital broke again. So like I wonder when guys have to deal with like getting their face actually broken. Like maybe it was all just like surface wounds and it really wasn't that bad. But if there were any like orbital fractures and nose fractures that they had to deal with, like how is that going to affect them in the fight? Like what if early in the fight they eat a stiff jab or something and then they're like, oh no, my face is broken. That like, you know what I mean? That could just really
derail
affect
you, right? In the
Yeah,
middle of a
because
fight.
you're going to hesitate.
Yeah.
You know, you'd be more worried about protecting your broken face than like going out there and doing damage.
And you know, Ortega's got to protect his face. That's his best commodity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
You
is
know?
kind of a pretty boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He acts like one too, from what I seen.
Yeah,
You know?
he does this thing, you know, like he's in this, you know, he's yeah, but this is fighting. Yair's gonna go in there and put in work. If Ortega goes in there and submits him, I'll be standing up applauding, dude. I'll be like, yeah, Ortega, man, you don't have to fight often. You know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Yair, I got it, Yair. The last fight before we take off, Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Royval, the rematch. Kind of similar fight. Yeah, it's weird. Both these fights are similar. They're rematches, and both these guys hurt their shoulders.
Crazy how things work out.
We're in the Matrix.
Yeah. Gives you scripted.
So Moreno, he's coming off. I think he's coming off the title fight still. No, let me see. Yeah, he's coming off the split decision loss to Pantoja. Brandon Royval is coming off his loss to Pantoja. So it's like
It's gonna be a good one.
it is going to be a very good high level.
How did Pantoja beat him again?
Decision, unanimous.
Royval.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think, and then Moreno was a split.
Yeah.
Both those fights were very. I think they were fucking good fights, entertaining fights. Both of the fights. If I had to go with somebody, man, it's hard to pick against Moreno, right?
It's really hard to pick against.
Yeah,
Moreno.
it's hard to pick against Moreno. And Royval, I like his fighting style a little bit better because he'll throw in the submissions, like he'll throw in wild submissions, and he'll throw in like spinning elbows. You know, he hits Kakara France with a spinning elbow, like right in the middle of the storm. Dude, just like knock them out and knock them down and shit. So I like Royval's style, but Moreno is just like, man, he's been in so many title fights, and he just, I don't know, man. I think he just has. I still think he has the championship pedigree in him.
He was winning that first. I mean, there was only one round, but it was basically a full 5-minute round, and he was winning that fight for the most part. It was competitive, but he had the advantage in pretty much every way.
Doesn't he live in Vegas? Brendan Royval? No, Brendan Moreno.
He's there a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sure he has a house out there.
He comes in and out.
Does he go to? Did he come to Syndicate?
No,
He
was
only trains
mostly at PI and
mostly at the PI, and then Iridium. They have this little private gym that they open.
Do you go there?
Yeah, I go there sometimes.
That's cool. That's to have a little.
It's pretty tight.
Yeah, that's cool.
I was actually most recently. I was like having little sessions with all my students because I'm not coaching at Syndicate anymore.
Yeah.
So I was like, I needed a spot to like get all my guys together and get some training going.
Yeah.
So I was like using that spot. So that was really cool.
That was a cool space.
I appreciate Iridium.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's really cool to have like a private space where there's nobody that's like from the outside that can
Moreno and there's a big mural of Moreno in there.
Oh god.
It's like it covers the entire wall.
Oh man.
What
if Moreno jumps to like Paradigm or something?
He was well, he was teaching, they were running classes and he was teaching them at one point. I don't know if they're still doing it.
Oh, Moreno?
Yeah.
Yeah. He has a solid little crew though that goes around with him, right?
Yeah.
Marseille, you know Marseille?
Yeah.
Marseille, yeah, he's a wild man. But yeah, Marseille, he's like that one thing about Moreno, man, he's loyal to his guys.
Yeah.
Like, he might leave his coaches, but his guys are his guys. Right?
Yeah.
So I don't know who coaches him now. Oh, he's in Texas, I think. At Fortis.
Okay.
With Dave Saud, the head coach over there. I think that's where he's at
I
now.
know he works with Capetillo for his boxing as well.
In Vegas?
Yeah.
Capetillo's who?
A boxer.
Yeah, boxer, right? Yeah, so I'm picking Moreno to win this. I think we're going to see a 5-round fight. I think this one's going to be a barn burner. But I think Moreno edges it over Royval. What do you think?
I think so too. I think Moreno's gonna earn his
title shot.
If you look at both the guys, who would you guys rather see fight for the title?
You do want a rematch, right?
Yeah.
With Pantoja. But the Pantoja's beaten Moreno 3 times.
It's a good story, man.
Yeah.
Man, like if he can pull it off and then go and win the belt after all that, like man, what a story.
Yeah. And the crazy part is like he fought, if he does fight Pantoja, that will be his fourth time fighting him. And he fought
his second time fighting somebody
four times. Yeah, that's crazy, right? In the UFC.
Yeah.
Man, and we were just earlier, we were talking about how Demetrius Johnson was running the division back in the day. It's like, man, it's kind of been all the same guys at the top.
Yeah, but the last couple of years has always been Moreno and Figgy.
Yeah.
Back and forth, right? Just fighting each other.
While the rest of the division is like
beating each other.
Yeah, it's like,
and then but they gave a couple guys shots, you know what I mean? But then Moreno knocked them off, you know what I mean? Or Pantoja knocked them off. Like they were meant to fight each other again. I think they will fight each other again. I don't mind them fighting each other again because these are title fights. You know what I mean? And he's earned his spot. It's just not like, oh, you you're the golden boy, and we're gonna put you in this spot. If he beats Royval, he beats one of the best guys.
It's kind of like that whole situation with Holloway, where Holloway just kept fighting Volk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then because at any time he fought anybody else, he just murked him.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I guess he deserves that fight, right?
Yeah. It's just I'm gonna start making a game for these previews. It's like, do you know this fighter? And then I'm gonna like quiz all the fighters, odd fighters of UFC cards. I think I'm gonna make a game out of it eventually. But because it'd be
pretty cool.
Yeah, because it's like, do you know who these fighters are? Because a lot of fighters don't even pay attention
to other fighters
at all. They pay attention to their team, but they don't really pay attention to like what's going on.
Being on this show definitely makes me like keep up to date way more. Because I gotta.
I feel like I'm pretty up to date, but then there's times where something will come up. I'm like, what? Those guys fought?
Yeah.
Like, how did I miss that? Because I feel like I'm following everything pretty closely. But if you think about it, man, what a world we live in now, where it's like that we pretty much have UFC almost every weekend of the year, almost every weekend.
And this weekend, they have PFL Bellator card, the champion versus champions.
No way.
This weekend, yeah.
All that. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah,
that'll be interesting.
But then, like, 2 of the fights fell out, the title fights.
Did they completely fall out, or just
postponed?
One of the champions couldn't make it.
The thing is, yeah, one of the champions.
Because I know, like, Ray Cooper, is filling in for the PFL champion.
Yeah.
Man, you can't count that guy out.
No, Ray Cooper definitely not. You know what I mean? But the thing is, the reason why they have the card is to have champion versus champion, not champion versus late replacement.
Yeah,
it
sucks it didn't work out. Like, it almost worked out.
Yeah, and they could have put more fights on there. I'm pretty much only like interested to see like Johnny Eblen fight, because I think Johnny Eblen is probably like one of the best fighters pound for pound in the world. He just doesn't have the opportunity to fight the guys in the UFC. But I think
who's he fighting?
He's fighting Impa Kasanganay.
Oh, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, because Impa Kasanganay went up to light heavyweight in the PFL last season, won the whole season, became the champion. Now he's back at middleweight fighting Johnny Eblen.
Yeah, man. Impa beat one of our old teammates, Corey.
Hendricks?
Oh, yeah, Corey Hendricks. Man, that's a tough one. Imagine being the smaller guy and then going and then having the speed advantage
and just beating
some of these big guys. But it's crazy. At least Corey can say, "Oh, well, the guy that beat me ended up to win the whole tournament." The whole you know what I mean?
I didn't realize, I guess I forgot that Corey fought him.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. When I realized, I was like, "Dang, that's crazy, man!" Because Impa used to fight at 170.
Yeah, that's true. Now I don't know. I just think it doesn't matter who Johnny fights like outside the UFC. I think he beats everybody. I just think that they need to find people that's going to give him a challenge, because the dude is like, he's just so good everywhere. He's just getting better as well. Yeah, and he's also half Korean. I have to promote that.
So there's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's half Korean. You see, you can't tell, right? But yeah, his mom is like Korean.
I'm just gonna bring this up, man, because we're talking Johnny Eblen. Yeah. I thought I seen some video online with like he was like with some
OnlyFans,
some type of lady, and like I don't know, it's just like, man, what? Like it just seemed kind of like weird to me.
He went shopping with some lady, right?
Yeah, and she was like, oh, like how much did you spend?
Yeah,
and they're like, she's like 75, and he was like, nah, 85.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't know, dude, are you proud of that?
There's a fake video. Like that was not his girl, because his girl's a different chick. But the girl was an OnlyFans model or something like that. I think that was just all set up. Like he's been doing like these kind of like quirky, funny videos, and then TMZ just ran off with it. Like that's where the news comes from, is TMZ, I think.
Oh, weird. Yeah, so I didn't know much about it, but I was like, because I don't know much about him, but I seen that. I was kind of like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you're the proper role model as a champion.
No. I think he's just fooling around. He's the one that like Sean Strickland spars all the time.
Yeah.
Like they love to spar each other, right? I would love to see that fight, like in real life. That would be a good fight as well. But who knows? Maybe Johnny Eblen will go to the UFC. you know?
So did PFL buy Bellator?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Are they going to still be putting on Bellator shows, or
Yeah,
is
they
this?
do.
I think they're most likely. I think they're gonna do a strike force.
They're gonna blend in, yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna blend in, but right now they're doing the Bellator's like Bellator series, like it's separate. So like James, James at the gym, he's fighting on the next Bellator card in Ireland.
Yeah.
And he's fighting Jeremy Kennedy for the number one contender fight. Yeah. So yeah, the Bellator is still going on, but they cut a lot of fighters. Bellator fighters.
A massive amount.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They released a
Well,
bunch of
man,
them.
Bellator, they cut a lot of fighters, but like, they weren't having their roster very active in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a lot of
It seemed like there
complaining.
was like Bellator just had guys they were building,
Mm.
and then like they would bring people in to fight, and then those people would never fight again.
There was a lot of fighters that would like complain about the inactivity that I talked to from Bellator. Like you said, there's certain guys that they would love and they would just put them on all the cards. And then there's certain guys that are just like, why am I signed?
Yeah.
Like what's the reason? Like why?
I don't know why I feel like throwing this out there
Mhm.
right now, but what do you think the next Ultimate Fighter should be?
Are they even gonna have it?
Yeah, I didn't know how well the numbers did.
So they might need something different, right? I don't remember, but they had that one season of Ultimate Fighter where it was American Top Team versus Black Zillions.
Yeah, that was good.
Maybe they need something like that again.
Yeah.
And I've actually pitched this to like, sometimes at the UFC, the cafe,
Yeah.
like we'll be eating lunch next to like different producers and stuff. And I pitched this to a couple. I was like, dude, you guys should totally do Syndicate versus Extreme Couture Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, like literally both places are like opposite sides
They're right next to each other.
of the Apex and the PI.
Yeah.
And like, they're kind of like the two main big gyms in
Yeah.
Vegas. And it's like, it's another situation, right? Where like they were able to do that in Florida because like both those were like the two big gyms and they're nearby. And I feel like maybe they need to spice up Ultimate Fighter and do something a little different. And actually have it be like a real team versus team with, I think that's a way to spice it up. And if not, just maybe keep doing Contender Series because I think that's a little
better.
bit is just better.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, man, the US, they just love drama.
Yeah. They do.
So like maybe they, some kind of gym drama between rival gyms, man, that might pop off. That might be something popular.
Yeah. There's a bunch of gyms that you could do it with actually, like Extreme Couture, Fight Ready has a pretty MMA Lab has a huge number of fighters over there.
So I guess maybe you could, if you were to film it in Arizona, you could do MMA Lab versus Fight Ready,
and then you do Syndicate versus Extreme, and then they meet the winners.
Oh, that could be
of the
interesting.
show.
Interesting. Yeah.
And then you have American Top Team do against Killcliff,
Oh yeah,
and
that's-
then meet.
Yeah,
And then maybe do another team, maybe do one in the UK or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, maybe Ultimate Fighter really should be like actual teams versus teams, like teams that actually exist instead of like throwing a bunch of random people together. Because I think that could, you know what I mean? Instead of it just being like fake drama, it could actually like some real
drama.
Could be like input
some legacy drama,
like some fighting,
drama that already existed
behind the, like someone just got in a fist fight behind the gym because they're just popping off, drama like that, right?
Yeah.
And then
it would just be more real. It wouldn't be this like thing like, oh yeah, we're gonna have these fighters in the house, and you know what I mean?
And then put them in a house, but the house is connected to the gym and connected to where you fight, and then on the opposite sides. So the cage in the middle, and like when they're training, you can see them. When you're training, they can see you. But your only way you can see them is through the cage. Do you understand what I'm saying? So like you could watch them train if you really wanted to.
That would be that is kind of a cool idea, but I feel like they would have to do it in a way where it doesn't disrupt the regular operations of the gym.
No, there is no regular operations of the gym.
It's a set.
So on this side would be like the housing, the training facility, and the middle would be the cage where they fight every week. And then on the opposite side, same thing, training facility, the housing. And so they never leave.
Oh God.
and then you're like prisoner in there, and then you could kind of go out and just start yelling shit to the other side, be like, you bitches, like, and the only way you guys ever meet each other is when you meet in the cage.
Well, that'd be kind of crazy.
Yeah, you could do some wild shit in there, like pranks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just can't never go on their side.
Yeah, I think, you know, maybe for that they wouldn't have to use actual gyms.
No,
They could do the same format that they already
Yeah.
do, but then just make it like that. I think that would be cool.
What if they, you know, I could see the UFC doing some kind of like influencer driven Ultimate Fighter, to be honest with you. That could be the next thing.
Man, what a sad world we live
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for real.
Like they probably pitched the Sneeko, the dude that Sean Strickland beat up. They're probably pitching him already, like, yo, we seen your potential.
Fight CM Punk.
Yeah,
No, man, what's crazy that we, you know, earlier we were talking about like that crazy level of fans.
Mhm.
Dude, sometimes like, you know, I try not to like read the comment section too much. But sometimes I'm like reading comments in the comment section, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like some of these like YouTube influencers and stuff like that, like, dude, they have some diehard fans
Yeah.
that just will be in the comment section defending them.
Mhm.
Crazy.
It is pretty nuts, man. The world is nuts, and you're never gonna stop it, man. It's never gonna stop. And the UFC is kind of pushing themselves a little bit more, dipping into that avenue, and I see why.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a lot of money there for them.
And if only these people use their influence to actually make the world a better place.
That will never happen.
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy. they use it, you know, to build their own profits. And you know what I mean? I guess you got to respect it. But man, there's some people out there that like they have enough influence and followers where they could actually make a difference. But
Yeah.
we'll see that happen.
There's no future like Maxes or, you know.
You know, the world isn't like a
There's no-
terrible
no.
place. You know what I mean? Like we
It
got
kind of is though. Have you been watching
some
the
people.
news?
For some people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Definitely. For
Even
some
in the
people.
U.S., like these people like just going into stores and robbing them, like without even, they cannot even arrest them because it's like, oh, they won't even jail you for the misdemeanor or whatever they're doing.
Yeah, man. There's some crazy stuff going on.
Yeah, I was just like, wow. It's like, why are people not getting shot?
Dude, I don't know. All I know is that, man, it might take some time, but I think the U.S. is on a decline for sure.
Oh, yeah, it's been on a decline for a while. Okay. But that's the perfect way to end it. You know why? Because we're not in the U.S. So
Yeah.
it's all good. We're on paradise. We're on
Yeah.
the island, right? And enjoying it, man. We're enjoying it. And I hope you're enjoying it wherever you are. Go in the descriptions, download the All-Star app. We'll be back on Monday next week and, you know, recap UFC Mexico. Johnny, I think we'll have him back on maybe one more time before he leaves. You know, that was a quick 2 hours. You know, 2 hours flew by right now.
Oh no.
Yes. So we're shutting it down. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Max. And we'll see.